In the year 1807, the United States banned the trading of slaves internationally. March 25, 1807, the abolition of the slave trade came about. 50 years later, Timothy Meyer, a fairly wealthy slave owner, generated a plan that was used to smuggle a ship full of slaves into the United States. Timothy had thought hard about this, as he knew he could not complete the task without a ship. In comes Captain William Foster. On July 7, 1860, Captain Foster brought the Clotilda to the Mobile Bay area in Alabama with 103 slaves on it. Once all cargo was off the ship, the Clotilda was set to flame by Foster and his crew as a way to clear all ties to evidence of the illegal act. In the spring of 1860, the Clotilda was loaded with 125 barrels of water, 25 casks of rice, 35 casks of beef, 40 pounds of pork, 3 barrels of sugar, 25 barrels of flour, 4 barrels of bread, 4 barrels of molasses, 80 casks of rum, 25 casks of dry goods and sundries, and $9,000 in gold, today $185,000, intended for the purchase of 125 Africans. These provisions were hidden by stacks of lumber that would later be used to build the planks and platforms for the captives' beds. The ship was set sail on March 3, 1860, under the pretense of bringing a cargo of lumber to the Danish Virgin Islands. Everyone was compacted in confined space for a total of 13 days without being able to see anything due to the darkness they were forced into. William Foster. William Z. Foster was born February 2, 1881, and became a labor organizer, though also served as a general secretary for the Communist Party. He founded the Trade Union Educational League. He was a 3-time candidate for presidency, but never won. However, he still had a heart attack in 1956, so he then passed down all his leadership to Joseph Stalin and the suppression of the Hungarian Revolution. In 1945, Foster again became party chairman for the International Communist leadership after Browder didn't hold up to expectations. Later in 1956, Joseph Stalin and their suppression of the Hungarian Revolution caused chaos within the party, so much so Foster was removed from his position. Timothy Meyer was born around 1836 in Whitfield, Maine. Early in his adult years, he took a job on a riverboat and soon became a mate, which is where he gained the skills to be able to build his own steamer. Timothy and his brothers then moved to Mobile, Alabama, where they took advantage of the Southwest economy. His primary enterprise became shipping cargoes from Mobile to Montgomery and vice versa. His business grew and he became very successful. Yet Captain Meyer is most known for the commissioning the Clotilda to travel to West Africa and bring back over 100 slaves, 52 years after it was declared the act of piracy. They sailed for almost 4 months, making a stop to Ouidah and losing 10 or so slaves to violent storms. On July 8, 1960, the Africans were transported to a second ship in Caesar, and then to the slave owners. The Clotilda was then set to fire, though recently it said that there are pieces of the ship that someone discovered. The 2 men were finally caught, but got away with it in court. Cudjoe Kazula Lewis. Cudjoe Lewis was the very last one from the Clotilda that remained alive. After being released from being a slave, he and a few others that had been released established Africatown. This is a fantastic outcome for Lewis, as Africatown made itself into the National Register of Historic Places in the year of 2012. He had been a slave at the mill of Mayor's Hammock. Once he was discharged, he was let down to know that he could not return back to Africa, so he went to Mayor to request some land, and thus Africatown was born. While the Clotilda was something from our past we wish never happened, many great things did come from it. One of the best things was that it was the very last slave ship. Alongside that came many other great things, such as Africatown. Africatown was created 3 miles away from Mobile, Alabama by 32 West Africans who had been brought in through the slave ship. This was the place where Africans could go and actually feel at peace. They could speak their native language, have their own designated chief of choice, and be at peace. It was also a safe haven from all racism. The founders created Africatown as they were famous due to the lack of resources they were given. They had to rely on hunting and fishing and built lodging areas in what's now Africatown to accommodate for their people. To this day, Africatown still exists and is now a tourist attraction in the Mobile area. Another immense outcome is derived from one of the slave descendants who goes by the name of Questlove. Amir Caleb Thompson was a natural-born musical influencer born on January 20th, 1971. After attending Philadelphia High School for the Creative and Performing Arts, Thompson and his friends created a band called the Square Roots, now known as The Roots. Over the years, Questlove has achieved many great things, such as becoming more of a mainstream artist, having his album The Tipping Point sold 400,000 copies, being featured in Jay-Z's Fade to Black, writing work with the British singer Duffy, and has also written 5 books. Accompanying these outstanding achievements is the fact that him and the Roots have been the live musicians for the Late Night Show with Jimmy Fallon for the past 9 going on 10 years.